Hey, so welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. So the preface before I get into the topic of this video, my porch is being redone because, I just moved here and the porch was not functional. It was like this close to collapsing. It was not really safe. So it's being torn down and that's why it sounds like that. Now it's less, we're using power tools earlier. I was trying to film this video earlier. So yeah, I filmed this, tried to film this video like 5 times, but anyways, so I've been planning this video for a while, and with some recent events that have actually happened today, with the Breonna Taylor not getting justice 6 months after her blatant murder, it's kind of just been like, okay, this would be, you know. So this year altogether, I've noticed, I feel like everyone says this huge rise in right-wing conspiracy theories. I mean, it started, I think, circa early 2017, around the time Trump became president, because all he really does is he appeals to conspiracy theorists by spreading conspiracy theories, and that's kind of how he became president, basically by spreading conspiracy theories to his pretty impressionable, uneducated audience. So, I feel like Trump's kind of one of the main reasons why we're getting so many conspiracy theories. Now, what really inspired this video was, I live in the Pacific Northwest, and as you know, we've been having a lot of fires, and I live in a conservative area of the Pacific Northwest. And in late August, there was this huge, massive wildfire that ripped through just north of my town, and part of my town had to be evacuated. It was like raining ashes for like days. It was pretty horrific. Now the fire started nowhere near where the town is, and the chances of it getting down here just happen to be because it's windy and it's fire season. In fact, I don't think they've been predicting it to be that windy. But I've seen all these conspiracy theories of, like, in my town, like, these older, usually uneducated, poor people spreading this conspiracy theory that is started by Antifa, or Black Lives Matter protesters, which is blatantly untrue. Like, it started, I think, due to machinery malfunctioning up in the forest, like in the mountains. So, yeah, so many people believe it, and it's a little horrifying. So we had people, there's a Black Lives Matter protest, and there are people like threatening to kill or hurt these people who are largely teenagers because they're accusing them of looting. And these are people in my town. They're like, oh, we need to go get them. So yeah, if you know what I'm talking about, and you know what town I'm in, be careful if you're going to protests. So far, there hasn't been an issue, and the rally they're threatening, there's no issue. Everything was fine. I was in my town. So that's what really was like, oh shit, people believe this. And then there was some massive conspiracy theory after there was some pretty big Black Lives Matter protests in the city south of where I am. It's like a bigger city, and then where I live is like a small town just on top of the bigger city, if that makes sense. I'm totally gonna be talking to myself. But, that they were looting in my town and in the city below me, even though the police department several times was like, yeah, no, that's not true. So, yeah, see, people still... sorry about that. So, sorry, my guitar just fell over. I've noticed a rise in these people around me and people that I know believing these lies. So, and one of the biggest, what kind of really inspired me to make this video was how right-wingers have responded to Kyle Rittenhouse and the long right-wing mission to defame every black person who's been unfairly murdered by police to justify them. So, Kyle Rittenhouse, we all know who he is. If you haven't, you're probably living under a rock. Go Google him. We all know what happened. The Kenosha police just let him kill those two black protesters. And people are hailing him as a hero and saying he's innocent. He's a 17-year-old. He's not 12. He's almost an adult. He knew what the hell he was doing. He's a white supremacist. He came in from Illinois, like an hour into Kenosha, Wisconsin, to kill protesters. He was not innocent. He was not defending himself. He knew exactly what the fuck he was doing. Stop making excuses for murder. So, that I've seen so many huge right wingers try to defend him when there's nothing to defend. He's just a murderer, period. So, yeah, he's just a murderer. And he was sort of popped up into my video. And as we get into this, I want to preface this, quick disclaimer. Breonna Taylor was not served justice today. I'll put links in my description for bailout funds, for petitions, for GoFundMes that are very important. Please check them out if you're watching this video. So, we've all noticed so many, we all have that one family member probably that believes this. I mean, I don't really, because I've come from a family of socialists. But, like, no, I'm not kidding. We all know, we've all at least seen it, and we have all noticed this rise. So, like, I feel like it really started to kick off this year with COVID-19, and, like, it was started by the liberals. And it's went from a group of far-righters, like, far-right right-wingers, to almost borderline, like, mainstream right-wingers, mainstream right-wing media, spreading these lies and misinformation and conspiracy theories. And it's a little scary, and it's very dangerous, because the right tends to be overall much more... Okay, my dog's barking. The right tends to be much more uneducated overall. A lot of them are white, uneducated, sometimes poor, not always poor, but sometimes poor, middle classes. These people will just believe everything they hear, and that's an issue. So, we have these major right-wing medias making thousands of dollars over manipulating and spreading hate, misinformation, conspiracy theories. And completely overshadowing this issue of systematic racism in the United States. If you look at the history, like, I was lucky enough to have, like, a social studies teacher who's teaching us about, like, some of this stuff, because I know a lot of social studies teachers, there are a lot of social studies curriculum, you don't learn about a lot of the horrific acts of racism, especially right after slavery was abolished. Like, there was this summer of 1919 where there were over 3 dozen KKK influenced white supremacist hate crimes against not white people, against black people. Overall, like, I believe nearly 800 black people were deliberately murdered. Oftentimes these people were aided by the police. Again, which, that, you can still see that pattern today in modern policing. So, yeah, this is something, it's blatantly ignoring the issue, and that's a problem. It really is a problem. People need to realize, I feel like what right-wingers need to realize is, first off, Antifa are not out to get you. They're not going to burn down your small town. Second, there's some statistic that 93% of Black Lives Matter protesters and Black Lives Matter protests were non-violent, completely non-violent, very peaceful. Yeah, well, first off, it's because, again, I'll get into this part later, but 93% of these protests were peaceful, yet the media only covers 7% that are violent, because that's what people are gonna click on. People are only gonna click on things being like, Antifa, Black Lives Matter protesters burning down your city to come for your small town, or like these videos of like Minneapolis police departments burning, police cars getting destroyed. I'll go into even like CNN. That's all you see, and CNN's like a liberal, left-wing news outlet. That's all you see whenever these things are going on, because people are only going to click on that, and I think that's an issue. We should just be giving the facts. We shouldn't be over-exaggerating one issue and under-exaggerating the next one. Yes, it's a fact that some protests are getting violent. It's also very much a fact that those are a small minority of these protests, and we don't need to only be covering the violent ones because there's so many peaceful ones that we could be covering. If anything, only covering like the violent ones, it's not done anything to further the movement, even by like left-wing media outlets. Like, there's a reason that I think there's some, I don't bookmark me on this, but like I saw some I saw some statistic that like 60% of Americans believe the majority of these protests are violent, which is blatantly incorrect. And that's at the fault of the media, left-wing and right-wing, mostly right-wing, but definitely left-wing media. They all need to be held accountable as well, because you're doing the exact same thing. Not to the extent that right-wing media is, but you definitely are perpetuating the same issues. So, what we need, first of all, we need to cover the facts. We need to cover the fact that most Black Lives Matter protests are peaceful. We need to cover the issue and not just, we need to cover like the issue of Black people being murdered by the police. And how this issue, this is a new thing, this is something that's happened for years. And stop believing everything you read on the internet. Because, I mean, to be fair, old people are usually the people who really get hooked into these conspiracy theories because they've spent most of their life without their internet. So they immediately assume everything on the internet is correct. Again, it's something that I've even caught myself doing, but especially old people because they're more prone to this because they don't really know how the internet works. They believe everything they read on the internet. They're gonna automatically believe it. They're going to be manipulated by these usually right-wing media outlets. It's further spreading misinformation in a time where misinformation's deadly. So, if you're, this isn't gonna do anything, but media outlets, cover the reality. Cover peaceful protests. Because you're part of the issue. You really are. Even left-wing media outlets, MSNBC, CNN, y'all are just as accountable in this. So, yeah, it's an issue. And then the second part is, this is just my opinion. This is kind of going away from the original plot of this video, but people only focus on the riots. And they're like, oh, look, they're trying to burn down all the cities. They're trying to hurt all these people. Which isn't necessarily, though there are cities burning. I feel like this is my opinion as a white person, it's a bit justified. Because look at the Minneapolis Police Department. I mean, they've really only made change once we had nationwide backlash, nationwide protests, parts of Minneapolis on fire. If that's the only way we're gonna get the slightest amount of progress, the slightest amount of reform, if that's the only way that progress is gonna happen, then yeah, burn down these cities. Because that's the only time people are getting paid. That's the only time where white people are paying attention to black people. That's the only time where we are paying attention to the suffering and to the very real experiences of racism. First off, the main issue is maybe a white person watching this. Stop ignoring this. This is happened for years, and that fly just had a stroke. Stop ignoring this. This is an issue that's been happening for years. Stop believing everything read on the internet, and listen to people when they talk about their experiences. And white allies don't. Again, I've heard a lot of Black Lives Matter organizers and protesters feeling very frustrated with white allies speaking over Black Lives Matter protesters. This is not your place as a white person. I've never experienced this. I've never experienced this violence that many black people have experienced. I've never experienced being racially profiled. You haven't either, so it's not your place to talk over black people because you've never experienced this. Let people talk about their experiences, listen to them, and help make a change, and point out racism when you see it. So, thank you for coming to my channel. thank you for watching this video. Check out my last video, it's on COVID-19. And the fact that people thought decided the pandemic is over. I'll put links in my description, in the description of this video. I'd encourage you to check them out. And yeah, so thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe and comment.